Inspired by sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to have Justin Kauflin in the studio today, albeit virtually. And this is the title track off of his new album, Coming Home. Justin, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, very well. It's a little late for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
What, 3 o'clock in the morning now, I guess?
Well, it could have been 4:20.
Yeah. It surely could have, yeah. But very happy to be here with you. I like all the stuff you're doing, and I'm glad to be able to sit down and talk about some things.
It's been a while, hasn't it? We haven't really been able to do that lately. Schedules and whatnot being what they are.
No. You've been on the road. I've been on the road. This is how things go.
It does seem to be that way. Well, it's great, man, and you're gonna hear bits of the album all the way through. I can't play full tracks because YouTube will take it down, but you will find this also on Patreon, and Patreon subscribers, you might already be hearing this clean and tidy. So we'll see. But anyway, tell me a bit about the album and what you've been up to and how it's going, because that's the most important thing, really. This is all about you, Justin Kauflin.
So this album, actually, we recorded it last year. I basically knew I wanted to go in a slightly different direction musically to get out of the traditional acoustic jazz vibe. And I had an idea of the musicians I wanted to work with, but especially I had an idea of the producers that I wanted to have in on the project. And Quincy Jones, of course, was present and lent his expertise. We also had another wonderful musician by the name of Derrick Hodge come in, and I've been a big fan of his for quite some time now. And the other musicians included Corey Fonville on drums and Christopher Smith on the bass. And for the most part, it's my own compositions and some covers. But it really actually ended up being a very joyful process making this album, which is something new for me. We had a great time in the studio together. It was a wonderful studio in LA called Westlake Studios. Wonderful engineer by the name of Q Million. And honestly, I'm very excited that the album is finally coming out.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of hearing this on holiday in my beachside villa in France the first time, and I wrote to you in high excitement. I said, this thing is crazy good, and it was very nice to hear that, man. It's just a great album. And it's nice to hear that you've got guitarists on this one. I like the guitar player. Crazy guy.
Oh yeah, that's the guy from Virginia, one of my buddies from home named Alan Parker.
I thought you were going to say Alan Partridge for a second. I really did. I was like, whoa.
No.
Alan Partridge on guitar.
He's quite the player. I've been a big fan of his since I first heard him.
You can hear him right here in the background. And because I listened in order to things, I don't like jump to the end of things like people do when they read books. Bugs the hell out of me when people do that. So I listened to this thing from start to finish, probably twice, because my kids were at the beach and I didn't feel like it. So I got to hear this first off, and I was like, this is a great opening track. I mean, it's a title track, it works, it's really polished, and I was just like, hell yeah. And later on, there's Rhodes pieces, and I was like, what Rhodes is he using? Well, I didn't want to keep bugging him, I was asking questions like, I'll hold them for a bit. You know, like when you're holding a sneeze, and then you got to let it out. Justin, what Rhodes is that?
Yeah.
It was great.
It's a real Rhodes, yeah. But it was a mix. It was nice to be able to actually have complete control set up in the studio. In the engineer room. That was a first for me to bring to the session. So I had a nice Yamaha acoustic Grand, this Rhodes that we rented, and it actually ended up being the same Rhodes that Robert Glasper used for Black Radio.
Very nice. The same one or the same type of one? The one.
The same one.
Oh
the
man,
one.
that is amazing.
Yeah, the one in LA. So it was cool to have that as a color. I wanted to have as many colors as possible. So if we felt like going in a certain direction while we were in the studio, we had the freedom to do it. Corey had 2 drum sets set up. He had one more smaller jazz kit, and he had a much bigger one set up beside it.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you could kind of swap
Also,
and change
Chris-
and just do what you wanted to do.
And he would jump from kit to kit depending on where the piece was going, because I wanted to come in and have things open and allow us to kind of discover where the song should go in real time. And our bassist also had, I think he had a 4-string, a 5-string electric, and then he had his acoustic as well. And he brought in a little Moog, I think one of the Sub Fatties. So he ran his bass through that as well, which was cool.
That is great.
But yeah, I didn't want to be limited based on instrumentation. So we kind of went in with whatever we thought we might need. And of course I had complete control set up, so I was able to search for colors in that universe as well. So the goal was to make a colorful album. And you pointed that out actually when you had responded after I sent it to you, which was thrilling for me because I feel like, at least for you, I think it connected.
It did. It definitely did. And even this track right here, I found this fascinating. This is track 4 from the album. It's called Going Nowhere. That reverse sound from my, I guess, unicorda, though I could be wrong, because I found there's a knob on that that does it straight away. And
you
I
are
like
right. That's where it came from. And I mean, the way this came about too is we were recording Lost, which also uses the
yes, it does. I noticed that actually. I'll hit that up next.
And so we did a few takes of that, and then I was fooling around, and then of course found that wonderful switch to reverse the sound.
I wish every plugin had that. Every single plugin.
Oh yeah, no kidding. So I started playing, and then Derrick was like, whoa, wait a minute, go ahead and just do that. And then he was, told the engineer to record. So this is just basically me sitting and trying to get a vibe, and he
Hence
was like,
the
boom, there you go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We all have moments like that. I think as musicians and artists in general, we have these doodle moments, like I call them. You sit and you play up some random chords and you hope for the best, and you come up with that, and you're like, well, when I woke up this morning, I certainly didn't expect that, but it works.
And the main thing I wanted to get was for each track to have a specific vibe.
Yes.
I wasn't as preoccupied with solos and the playing. Everybody is a great musician on the record, and I really like the concept of doing an album with an actual real goal in mind.
Yes.
And for this album, I really wanted each track to really capture something unique.
Do you feel like you achieved that? Because that's always the thing, isn't it? You say you want to achieve something, but do you actually feel like it?
I think so. I mean, I really, for me, this still, the fact that I can still listen to these tracks is a testament, for me at least, to the fact that I feel like I've definitely gotten closer to what I'm reaching for. And of course we never actually get there, but this feels very authentically me, and to have Derrick and Quincy producing, I think helped me really do that.
Keep on keeping on,
so, yeah.
as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Segue for you, a good documentary. People who may not know much about that, give me a quick rundown of how that all came about.
Keep on keeping on. So I met Clark Terry back in 2000. This would be maybe 2005. And I was at school. I was going to William Patterson University. And the way I met him was through a friend of mine named Al Hicks. And he was a drummer at the program. Great drummer from Australia. And basically he said, hey man, I'm going over to Clark's place. He lives by the campus. I want you to come with me. And I went over there, met Clark, and the reason I was there to meet him actually was to help him deal with losing his sight. He had diabetes, and losing your sight is a very common thing that happens.
That is so rough.
So
I can't even imagine.
So I went over there.
Like.
Oh man, I went over there to basically give him some encouragement, and of course he turned around in his fashion and sort of took me under his wing, like he took so many students under his wing and mentored me, as well as Al Hicks, the drummer.
Yeah.
We were all his students. And in 2009, Al got the idea that he wanted to capture this thing, that Clark possessed. It was just really an amazing thing. He was just a beautiful human being, and Al wanted to capture him in his element, which was being a teacher. So I was the student in this particular case, and they followed us for about 4 years. Followed us the full 4 years, and it was quite a journey. And along that journey, I got to meet Clark's first student, which was Quincy Jones, and that's how that relationship started.
I always think these things happen for a reason, and so when they do and they fall out like that, there's something behind them.
Yeah. And it was quite an odyssey, and like we mentioned, it's the film is called Keep On Keepin On, and I know it's available on Amazon.
Is it now?
And possibly, you can purchase it on iTunes.
Okay. I saw it on Netflix originally.
Yeah, it's in a little bit of limbo right now, just because of distributor woes. But
do we have to?
Hopefully that'll all get worked out, and it'll get back on Netflix.
Okay. Well, I encourage everybody listening to this to go and find Keep On Keeping On at your digital outlet of something. I say choice, but obviously the choice has been taken away from you in parts, so find it. Just find it. You'll thank me.
Yeah, it's great. Clark Terry, very much worth getting to know, and the film is a great way to do that.
So I have a question. I have several questions, but one of them, for example, is for myself. I would have liked to have met Douglas Adams. Not a musician necessarily, but there's always someone in life that we all want to meet and maybe can't meet, or maybe just haven't met yet. So my question to you would be, who would you like to meet that you haven't yet met or worked with?
Man, you know what? I gotta say, I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, I know, right?
When I think about the people that I got to study with, in addition to Clark, I got to study with one of my piano heroes of all time, Mulgrew Miller, who sadly passed away a few years ago. But I did get to spend time with him. Of course, getting to spend time with Clark, meeting Quincy through Clark, and being able to spend time with him. I gotta say, I've been very fortunate. And then even on the younger side, I was a big fan of Jacob Collier's, and then
I was going to ask about that soon. I'm glad you brought that up.
Spend quite a bit of time with him, because he's also another Quincy artist, and
he's someone I'd like to meet eventually.
He's quite a remarkable human being. There's no question about it.
I see that all the time.
There's no question about it.
Fellow Brit as well.
I don't know. Yeah, he is. Yes, he is. So maybe if something pops into my mind, I might mention it later. But off the top of my head, I can't. Yeah.
I like to conduct all of these recordings a little differently. So I thought I'll put you right on the spot, right? I'm going to play a game of word association or phrase association. So I'll say something and you say the first thing that pops into your head. So actually we've covered a couple of them, which is kind of unfortunate. But if I say, for example, country fried.
Home.
Home is good.
Home cooking, man.
Home cooking? Okay, I like that. That's a great answer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Berkeley.
Quincy, actually.
All right.
He's got a great relationship.
I wanted to see what you might say.
I'd say Quincy, and then the second thing that comes to my mind is the two people that I've been playing with a lot these days, Katie Thoreau and Matt Whittick. They're both Berkeley grads.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Ronnie Scott's.
Man, it's funny enough. The thing that comes to my mind is Blue Note, the jazz club in New York.
Okay.
I find them to be very similar in vibe and in layout. it's classy. It's a classy place.
Well, I tell you, the fries that I had in Ronnie Scott's when I came to see you were phenomenal. So I don't think they were country fries, probably city fries, but tell you what, they were freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember you sitting with me after that gig when Sarah, what was her name?
Yeah, Sarah McKenzie.
Sarah McKenzie, she was great too, was on.
Yeah.
And my brother bought us chips, fries, and we sat and ate those. They were great.
It was good, man. You know, and it's another way that it's like Blue Note too. Very tight quarters.
Okay. You know,
Very
listening to
cozy,
this
for
track
sure.
right here, this is Carousel, I think. It should be.
Yes.
And you have either four hands or you double tracks. No, I'm kidding. So it's great because you've got all this interlocking, overlapping. It sounds like, to me, if I think of it synesthesiatically, don't ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a river running into a sea. It's a bit tempestuous in parts, but soft in others.
Mm-hmm.
Not fluffy, because that seems like it's a bit feminine, but beautiful in a way that, I don't know. Explain this one.
Well, thank you. This pretty much came together. This was another very kind of spontaneous thing where Derrick was like, okay, just go ahead and play it. So I played it on the piano without any real clear intention of where we were going to take it. Then I think Corey ended up coming in and lending his thing on the drums. And what we wanted to do is for him to, like, he's clearly listening to what I have going on, so he's adding to that. But we're all big fans of the producer Madlib.
Yes. So was this actually a track, or was this a free flow thing? Because I wasn't actually sure.
This is a pretty much, well, it's a track. We all kind of built it from the ground up. So the piano. But I've always dug, like, Madlib will have these tracks where the drums are pretty much playing swing, but in their own, almost in their own world, in relation to the other tracks that he produced alongside that, you know, with the samples. And so that was kind of the impetus for how we did this. And then the Rhodes kind of came in.
So you went and played it after the fact?
Yeah.
How much of it was done by the time you did Rhodes? Was drums and piano down? Like, did you do piano and drums together?
It was
and then
basically
Rhodes after.
No, piano first, drums came second, and the Rhodes.
Oh right,
and
so it was literally, as you said.
Right here, you have some acoustic bass bowed, subtly there.
Oh,
in the mix.
there it is. Hi.
Yeah.
That's a cool sound. It reminds me kind of Imogen Heap style kind of thing. It's fun.
Cool.
Like that.
Yeah.
What piano were you using, actually? People often
Again,
ask.
it was the piano in the studio.
It's nice.
Yeah,
really nice miking.
It was a
I mean,
Yamaha C7.
you expect that on a jazz album, but I tell you, I've heard some bad things from albums before, so you know, makes you wonder.
This was a unique piano. It was actually, I think, because it was in the studio that it was in, Westlake Studios, I think is primarily a pop studio. So that is a pop piano, but what I did is pretty much left the soft pedal on the whole time.
Yeah, that works for that kind of thing.
And that allowed me to get this vibe that I really liked the way that it sounded. So
really deep into the music, really. And it fits, because sometimes you get a piano, it's very harsh, it doesn't work, but that works.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my track right here. I heard this in Ronnie Scott's, for the listeners, and Kevin, Satizable, and I, my brother Dwayne, we were just like bopping our heads to this tune. It was banging. It's just a fantastic track.
This is a fun, and it's kind of like, you know,
country
something that happened for this album. These songs, they are very much purely mine, as weird as they might be. You know, because I try to explain this to people. I'm like, well, it's kind of country, it's kind of folky, and it's got this, you know, the train beat basically on the drums, and I couldn't tell you why it ended up being like this, but you sit at the piano and something comes out, and you think, I like this, so you go with it, and then that's where a lot of these tracks come from.
And who clapped
and
for you?
And the way I just, this is, you know, it's funny because. People always ask, like, oh, did Derrick play on it? And I'm like, no, but he claps. Those are his claps. Yeah, Yeah, but the way I like to try to describe this track is, if I know that fried chicken is coming, then this is the joy that I feel knowing. Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Oh, we're gonna go to a fried chicken joint for dinner. This is what's playing in my head, for sure.
Maybe I just haven't had American fried chicken yet. I mean, fried chicken over here is great too. My mom used to do it. My mama.
Hey.
But yeah, good fried chicken is the best, isn't it? There's something
it
about it.
is. It's not easy to find. I won't lie. You know, there's a lot of fried chicken joints, but not a lot of good fried chicken.
And if you like ribs, shameless plug for a place in Barbados that I don't own, but I wish I did. If you ever go to Barbados and do a gig, go to Eddie's. Eddie's is an outdoor mobile rig. And every week, usually Wednesdays, right? I went out there in 2015 with my grandmother. And we sat in a car one day for about 45 minutes. And I was like, why are we here? What's all the hype about ribs? Let me tell you, Justin, when I tasted those ribs, I nearly died of food coma. It was the best ribs I've ever had. I don't know if you like ribs, but if you do, you'll never have ribs like that again in your life. And when I hear this, actually, I think of those ribs because they were just that good.
That's good. Yeah, man.
It's funny, isn't it? There's always one place in the world that makes the food just great. You go back for the food.
Yep.
And I, from being on stage a lot, as you'll know, that you play great on a good stomach. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, man. You know, good food, good music. I'm not sure which one I'd like best.
Mix them up, man. Mix them up.
Yeah, well, that's what makes a great evening.
Sure do.
Yeah, man.
So, you know, as a sort of freelance marketing product specialist for Native Instruments, I have to ask, how did the products help you in the studio?
Man, well, let me tell you, man, I do not mind talking about this because the fact that I could bring this keyboard, bring my laptop, bring an audio interface, plug it into the board, and this is really why I wanted to have it for the, because if Quincy said he wanted a specific sound,
you had it pretty much.
I wanted to be able to find it, and with complete control, with the access that we have, where I can actually search through with filters. You know, I can actually specify what I'm looking for. If Quincy wants a pad, I just go straight to pads, and I can scroll through the list, and then it has the sound preview, so we can all hear the sound. As I'm scrolling through it.
So glad they implemented it.
And it makes it so that I can be functional in the studio, to be honest, where I'm not like fumbling around trying to
going through a sound and pressing every key to hear what it's like.
And asking everybody to wait for me. So to be in the studio and you know, Quincy would say like, hey, I want a sine wave. And I'm like, I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's a true game changer, isn't it? I mean, as a fellow blind musician myself, I find that, you know, I'm on stage in rehearsal, even rehearsal. Yesterday, for example, is a prime example. I took my rig and the singer's like, I need a piano that's slightly warmer. I said, okay, well, I won't change the piano. I'll just turn the filter down. That's using Ravenscroft. Job done. I mean, so simple. Yep. This has been fantastic for us. And a few years earlier, when I was recording another album, I found I was using a Roland FA06 at the time. And the effect was on, but I didn't know how to turn the effect off. So the studio engineer had to come over and do it. And I just felt like I was holding up the whole recording, not on purpose. That's a change for both of us, I think, don't you think?
Absolutely. Well, you know, to allow us to actually be musicians and not have to troubleshoot pretty much most of the day. Yeah. You know, that's
a huge thing.
That's a real gift. I mean, we get all this time back now that we don't have to worry about finding sighted assistants to map out parameters that we don't have access to,
and
or
time
just
is money,
giving up.
People, time is money.
So it's quite revolutionary. I'm so thrilled that Native Instruments has put in the work that they did to change our lives.
Yeah, hugely.
And I mean, even improve our employability, you know, as blind individuals, which I think is a great thing all around.
That is.
This stuff truly translates into us being more functional.
in every way. I mean, it'd been a time in hell, wouldn't it? You couldn't take, if you're like a film producer or something or designer, I couldn't take my stuff on location and work. I'd have to have tons of hardware around me. But now, and the same for you, jump in a car. I mean, I said to someone the other day, the same stuff that I work with at home is the same stuff I take on the road. I can go to America, to Estonia, to Australia. The exact same sounds, what I carry is what I use. And that puts us in the same realm as our sighted counterparts. And I think that is a fantastic step forward. Long may it continue,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see what else Native Instruments has up their sleeve.
Yeah.
And hopefully other companies will follow suit.
They have a lot going on, by the way. I was in Germany a few weeks ago, and I can tell you that, but I can't tell you what.
Hey, we will anxiously await.
It's going to be great. I have seen some of the most amazing things I think I've ever seen, and you thought Complete Kontrol was amazing. This is going to blow your mind. That's all I can say. It's going to blow your mind.
And as my interest.
As visually impaired musicians, that's what we want out of companies, the commitment. But I'm glad that it helped in the album. It's helped in a lot of my productions the last 2 years. I couldn't have done what I've been doing without that. And
that last sound right there, that was FM8.
FM8, see? Perfect.
Yeah. FM8 all over that.
FM8 is crazy, speaking of that. I mean, I don't know. You've probably looked at some of these user presets that are floating around the web, but just crazy what you can do with it.
Hey, man.
3 knobs, even like the harmonic, the timbre knob, and the whole sound is different. That is wild.
Yeah.
So if you were to say the most plugin that you used on this album, what would that be, do you think?
Man, each track was different. So coming home, I used a sine wavy type pad. I want to say that was FM8.
Yeah.
This track right here used a plugin called Yuhi Repro 1, which is accessible through Complete Kontrol because it's NKS compliant.
We like that.
So there it is, the little lead sound.
Oh yeah, I hear that. First party, officially supported?
It's officially supported, yeah.
That's
NKS
nice.
standard. So I think FM8 will win though. I think that was probably used the most.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people would think on a jazz album you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah. No, but it's all subtly there, and if you're not looking for it, you probably won't find it. But that's kind of how I like to use my synths. I like to have them augment what's going on with the acoustics,
of course,
but not necessarily supplant them.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of Yellow Jackets, actually. They did a lot of that.
Big fan. Yeah, big fan of that stuff.
Me too.
Russell Ferrante, man. Isn't that bad?
There's this one track that I don't remember the title of. Seems like an old track, and he's just crazy on keys. I don't know what he did or how he did it, but he just went wild. And I remember hearing that when I was younger and going, who plays like that? And how many hands do you have to do that?
Yeah, man.
So I know, for example, Quincy's been influential, Clark Terry's been influential in your life, but of course we have to talk about family and friends too. Like, who keeps you going? Who do you play for besides yourself?
Man, you know what? I guess my answer to that is I think whenever I'm playing for those people who are around me at that moment.
Yeah.
That's really what's going on in my mind.
No, that's good. It makes it very personal,
It's that's really what it is. So if I'm, if we're rehearsing, I'm playing for those musicians. If I'm on the stage with these guys, I think initially I'm really playing for them. We're playing for each other, and that's what makes it a good performance for, an audience that's there to be with us. And of course, as a band, I think we're collectively wanting to reach at least just one person, But I mean, working on this album made me realize, like, the best thing I can do first is just to be true to my artistic vision as best I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I start from there, then I can really focus on trying to find those people that music connects with. Because otherwise, I would be doing something disingenuous, And
yeah,
of course, it's a balance, right? We as artists, we create essentially for ourselves in the beginning,
absolutely.
And then it comes to this point where you're like, well, how do I translate this? How do I communicate this to people around me? And for them to get something from it, some sort of emotion from it, some sort of recollection, help remind them of something. But it has to start from me first.
Because you're the one putting pen to paper, fingers to keys to canvas. And that's, of course, it has to start with us. You as the artist, the musician. And creators actually have one of the hardest jobs in the universe. To bring out something in someone, emotion, memory, whatever the case may be, that is not easy.
Yeah. For sure. And I mean, once you put it out there, it's in the air. You have no control over it anymore, which is kind of a crazy thing. You just hope for the best. I mean, that's really how it's been for me. And the people that this album connects with, I think, will be people that I may find I have a lot in common with,
Yeah.
Or not. We'll find out.
And how long did it take? I'm guessing it wasn't contiguous days of recording to make it.
We did 3 days in the studio. That was it.
Oh, not bad.
3 days. Then we took a break actually because I was on the road for the latter half of last year, and then we picked back up with mixing earlier this year, and finished everything up about 2 months ago. Got everything packaged. So really, we would have been done a lot sooner, but just traveling made it pretty difficult last year.
Understandably. Well, what an interesting trip for you it's been, and what is coming next for Justin Kauflin?
What is coming next? Well, I'll be heading to Switzerland in about a week and a half. I'll be at Bern, Switzerland, playing at Marion's Jazz Room. I think is what it's called.
Make sure you eat chocolate. Swiss chocolate is as good as Belgian
chocolate. You know
chocolate.
what? No, you know what I had, man? It was in Zurich Airport, and I don't even know what time of day it was, but I was with some buddies, and they said, let's go to this cafe. And I'm thinking, I got to get a cup of hot chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and to this day, it's the best cup of hot chocolate I've ever had in my life.
It was truly melted chocolate in a cup, wasn't it?
Oh my God, man.
I've heard of that before. It's so good.
Life-changing. Yeah, man. Talk about, that'll be my next song.
That's what I like.
Swiss hot chocolate.
That's a great name. It's very gentle, isn't it, for a track? I'm sort of thinking an E major deal.
Yeah. It was definitely no Swiss Miss.
No, indeed. Sure.
It was legit. Yeah. It was legit. So I'll be there, and then the CD comes out September 14th, so we'll be doing stuff around that. And just like how it is, we take it day by day.
Yeah.
Trying to create as much as we can and stay active, stay busy.
Come to London again. Come visit me. Let's do something.
Oh, for sure. You know what? I think I will be there. Well, I mean, this is kind of far off. I know I'll be there in March next year.
Okay, that's pretty good.
We'll be doing a European thing, but perhaps I'll be able to get over there sooner. We'll see.
I mean, if you do, imagine we could do sort of an Inspired by Sound redux, where I sit you at the piano, because I have mics at the piano now. I didn't before when you came. We could do a little live jamming. See, the trouble with for the listeners, he's on the other side of the world from me right now, so we can't even jam together. Otherwise, I would have showed you some fun stuff.
We'll have to do another take for sure, a live one.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we've had some good times.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to come back over to the crib, for sure.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I wonder, a few last words, if I may. If inspiring musicians listening to this feel like they want to get into music, and you've done a lot of things in your lifetime, what would you tell them about perseverance and not giving up, for example?
Well, obviously, perseverance, not giving up, great words of advice. And as often as they're said, they're no less valid and important, really, guidelines Things, I know in my life, things did not always work out the way I anticipated or planned. And it was perseverance through those times that kept me moving. You know, I had to keep on practicing. I had to keep on, even though the gigs weren't coming, or even though I felt like, what's the point? I stayed at it. I kept on practicing. And things ended up working out in a very unexpected way. You just can't, you don't know what's around the corner. And it's always like a tragedy if you give up right before things, turn around.
Yeah.
So, of course, persevere, but also, it's got to be something you love. And I've gone through periods where I thought, gosh, am I enjoying this? And it was kind of circumstances that maybe weren't ideal, but make sure, just check with yourself. Is this something that you really love, that you just can't do without? Sorry, Corey. I love Corey's playing.
On the drums?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. That snare is gorgeous. I told you that actually one of my responses. I was like, I want that snare.
It's a very distracting drummer in the best way possible.
Absolutely phenomenal. I love it.
But yeah, man, hard work is so much easier to do when you have the passion behind it. So that's worked out well for me. And it's something that I admire greatly about, we mentioned Jacob Collier.
Yes.
This guy, I don't think I've met anybody who loves music more than this guy. It's just constantly on his mind. He can't stop singing or banging on things. And it's like the same kind of infatuation that we all had when we first got into music. This guy still has it.
Yes.
And I find that to be, sorry, this is another good moment. Sorry.
That's what music should do to you. Even though you took part in it, that's what it should do.
Oh, that I had nothing to do with that.
Behind that.
Corey and Chris. Yeah.
I have that, you've got to have it. That's what actually, it's not arrogance, by the way, people. When you say, if there's something that you've done that you love, it's good for you to do that. Because if you do, chances are someone else probably will too. Unless it's singing in the shower, in which case, just keep that to yourself.
Absolutely.
But that's the thing. I think, music is so very personal to all of us, particularly, musicians. And yet, at the same time, it's not. Because once it's come from our fingers to the canvas, if you will, the virtual canvas, and then others hear it, that what was personal is no longer that way. And if you can enjoy it because we made it, that is what we want you to do. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Very well put.
Justin, it's been a pleasure to have you on. If there's any last things you want to say before I wrap this up, I may have forgotten to ask a question that you think I should have, then serve me, if you will. Tell me what I missed.
No, I'd say, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan of this channel. I love keeping up to date with what you got going on, what you're discovering. I guess I just say look out for the CD. If you want to know more, you can always visit my site, www.justinkauflin.com.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will be having more YouTube content to be sharing in the near future as well. But yeah,
that's good.
Website's
look
the
for
best
Justin
way.
in your city.
Facebook, of course. Twitter, I think I post once a year on Twitter, so you can check that.
Yeah, I'm always hounding this guy to post more, you see. It doesn't work. He don't listen to me. Maybe if I serve him up some fried chicken, he'd do that.
Well, yeah. Well, if I have fried chicken, that I can tweet about that for sure.
Fried chicken. Okay, I'll make sure that happens. Next time you come over here, I'll be sure to have some. There's a chicken cottage down the road. I'll just go there and buy the cheap stuff. No, I'm kidding.
All good, man.
All right, man. Well, thank you guys for listening. Stay in touch and follow the Patreon channel for more, because the thing is, it costs to make these things, okay? So if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, like, and share, and that is how we do this. Take care, and I'll see you next time.